The question and answer session. Really excited to have Anny and Dr. Gerardo up here to answer any of your questions. Please raise your hand and wait for me to come to you with a microphone. That way we can make sure everyone hears the questions. I'll start back here. I'll move my way up front here, and then we'll give them a chance to talk. Here we go.
Thank you both for your fascinating work with this molecule and making this available to us. On behalf of everybody, I appreciate you and keep doing what you're doing. So I recently started a business with flotation tanks, with sensory deprivation tanks, and we talked a little bit about the theta brainwave, and as the tank can put you there consistently over and over without really any effort on your part. So I'm wondering how that can be integrated into this therapy, either before, after, or during, and also the iboga treatments, because I'm interested in that as well. We have a center here in the Bay Area that I would like to open it up to these kinds of ceremonies and these kinds of healing practices. And I'm wondering what your thoughts would be on how that could be integrated and what you believe the perceived benefits of that therapy with a combination of MEO. Thank you.
Well, you know, the flotation tank is a sensory deprivation tank, so you're in complete darkness. Your brain is usually just processing all the sensorial information, all the input coming in. So when you can't see anything, you can't smell anything, you can't feel anything, your brain relaxes and it does shift into this theta brainwave state. And I tried really hard to get a flotation tank donated to the ibogaine clinic where I was working because, for the residual withdrawals and the pain that they have, I believe that would be completely eliminated if they were able to do a flotation session.
Can I donate a tank to your center?
Please. Well, I'm no longer there. I'm creating a new center. So yes, you can. Thank you. But no, yeah, there is a lot of value for, the decompression of the spine and the pain and the relaxation and entering the theta brain waves. And Martin Ball has written extensively and suggested that once you start working with 5-MeO-DMT, all of the future work that you do with other entheogens become more like 5-MeO-DMT. And then it seems that you also awaken your own brain's ability to release it. Or more than that, you actually recognize it when you do release it, when you're meditating or when you're exerting yourself, exercising or things like that. So I think that complementing that would only lead to, a higher likelihood of people being able to entrain into theta brainwave and achieve these unity consciousness states eventually without even taking anything or getting in the tank.
And it can also act as a synergistic agent, no? This deprivation tank can intensify the 5-MeO-DMT experience for sure.
My question relates, my name is Elliot Eisenberg. I'm a psychologist that graduated from this institute, and I've always been curious about the effects of psychedelics. So over the decades, I've taken 5-MeO-DMT 2 times. And once in the same evening, I took both the toad and the synthetic. And I found the synthetic much stronger. I mean, I don't know why, but of course it was right after the other, so maybe the other prepared it. But neither case could I remember anything whatsoever. So I was sort of very amused by what you wrote up there about all the things that supposedly happened. The only one that ever happened to me was no memory. It was just like, it was all very beautiful. I mean, it was like spaces that I couldn't even comprehend. Zero memory. Okay, but then I did again the actual toad, and it was powerful, but not as powerful still as the synthetic. So at the time that I did the synthetic, you could just order it on mail order. First of all, I wondered if that's still true, where you can just order it because it's so obscure, 5-MeO-DMT. And second, I wondered if other people, what their experiences of the synthetic versus the actual toad crystal.
Well, lately, these past 2 years, I've been doing some studies comparing both the 5-MeO freebase and toad medicine together, combined, and each on its own. And to my experience, I do consider toad medicine supreme in so many positive ways, in so many various ways as well. We're talking about, first of all, of an organic compound made by nature, which we will never compare our most effort to try to imitate nature. So, for example, if we take a toad medicine which has a concentration of 10%, so that would mean that if you smoke 20 milligrams of freebase, its equivalent would be 200 milligrams of toad medicine. And as I was telling somebody just a few minutes ago, smoking, I've had the honor of smoking 250 milligrams of toad medicine with the Yaqui Indians, with the Seri Indians, I mean, and whoa, like there's no point of comparison actually. It seems that toad medicine has different also compounds and probably alkaloids that interact and act synergistically or increasing its potency of 5-MeO-DMT. That's on my experience, no. And I'm going to publish soon this book of all my experiences of dose ranging, no, going from 5 milligrams, increasing doses 5 and 5 up to 250 milligrams. Anny?
It's easier to get an accurate dose of the synthetic 5-MeO-DMT because you know exactly what you're getting because it's designed for that, right, and in that quality. And with the toad, you don't know because maybe it depends on how long did the toad stay underground this season and how many poisonous spiders did it eat last night and other things like that. So it's a lot harder to really foretell what it's going to be like. And I don't work with the synthetic. I have on rare occasions. And in the 2 years that I've been doing this, I have never felt unsafe, not physically, not psychically. But when I use the synthetic one, one of the rare occasions, I did feel unsafe. And so I don't work with it. If I feel that a situation calls for it, where I need a little bit more time to work with within a therapeutic context, I will use the synthetic, but insufflated.
I see. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Next question over here.
Hi. So, sorry. Oh. So my question is regarding the lasting healing effects of 5-MeO-DMT. Just coming from a space of personal experience, it came to me in 2012 actually, and after spending most of my life in a state of anxiety, depression, fear, anger, it was an overnight release, completely and totally life-changing. And it was, for me, absolutely an awakening of myself to myself. And I was under the impression that I was healed. And it really felt like I was healed. And then after about 2 years of being unable to reconnect with the medicine, I noticed that many of the old patterns and habituations returned exactly as they had manifested initially. Exactly. So I guess my question is, in both of the presentations, I agree with everything that both of you said, but there's a stopping point where it's not addressed how this is going to be followed up with people, and what exactly is the process of integration so as to retain the healing effects.
Yeah. You know, when I say that it has a robust effect in the characteristics that I've observed, this sense of connection, this ability to perceive beauty, this ability to forgive yourself. I'm into neuroscience, so I keep bringing it back to that, and I may be reductionist with it, but it seems to me that what happens is you can think of the brain having 3 layers: the primitive brain, the emotional brain, and the thinking brain. And so it seems to me that 5-MeO-DMT, the toad medicine, basically allows the thinking brain to connect to something larger, to connect to source, to connect to what is. And at the same time, because you're not having the input of the conscious brain, the ego telling you, no, you can't do that. No, you have to be self-conscious about that. Then you basically give the reptilian brain, the primitive brain, the ability to restore this dynamic equilibrium that I talked about. And so it's like bypassing conscious control of culture and all of these things that lead to our personalities or, our issues, depression, anxiety, trauma, whatever they may be. And so, 5-MeO-DMT is not addictive. And so to address your question of how do you follow up, my idea is to design a program where it's in phases. And so, and there's philosophy and there's concepts that go with it. And then you go home with homework and you implement that. I feel that all of these medicines, especially ibogaine, actually, they compel you. You emerge out of the experience feeling very strongly compelled to do something in particular. And whatever that may be, if you don't take action, very quickly the depression, the anxiety, the all habituation patterns are going to take a hold of you. And so Ralph Menzner says, it's not much important what the medicine does to you. The important question is, what do you do with the medicine? Because I can tell you all about what it's going to do to your brain and your peripheral nervous system, but what I want to know is, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to take this gigantic experience of cosmic expansion and universal love and translate it into your everyday life? So it takes discipline, it takes diligence, and constant work. But I do agree that having follow-up sessions, maybe make it over the course of a year so that you can have somebody that's keeping you accountable to what you said you were going to do, and so that you can see what it actually does to you when you do put your foot down for yourself and say, no. I said that I needed to work out, so even though I want to sleep until 8, I'm going to wake up at 6 and go to the gym, or whatever the case may be, right?
Yeah, I think it has to be individualized. I've managed to identify that after 1 month, there's complete dissipation or dissolution of the experience. After 1 month, you can go back to the same old self, but only if you let yourself. So some people might benefit from a single exposure. Some other, it's so individual. We're so different. It's biodiversity. So the treatment must be focused in this way, in this manner, individually. Some people might benefit from multiple exposures, multiple follow-ups. But yeah, that's just my opinion.
And one last thing, at the fear of sounding crazy, you know what? The toad has a personality. And it'll show you. If you're misusing it, it will show you. If you're not using it for the right reasons, it will scare the bejesus out of you, where you don't want to do it again. But if you're doing it wisely, then you feel respectfully, you develop a respectful relationship with the medicine, where you do something, you feel compelled to take action, you take action, and once you feel that, okay, I'm ready for the next step, if then you take the next step, it keeps giving. It's a gift that keeps on giving.
So is the idea that it's wiping the slate clean, or just that it's offering a space of brilliant light so that everything that has been bringing all the darkness is temporarily washed away?
I would say both.
High five. Both. Very eloquently put. Both.
Yeah. Coincidentally, I heard this week a lecture by Terence McKenna where he used the word, which I can't say, apokatastasis. Yeah. And it was in the latest episode of Psychedelic Salon. And he contrasted a little bit DMT and 5-MeO-DMT, and said that with DMT he gets the hordes of noetic elfdom coming after him. With DMT, he said it's more like an emotion. It's not really an immersive experience. So one of the things that you said, Dr. Cherry, that struck me was that this molecule is of the moment. It's of now. And when I think about some other psychedelic substances, they show us images that seem like Mayan, really like they seem of that time and place for some reason. So is there anything immersive in this that reflects that nowness of this substance? And you said you also work with artists. And I'm really curious to see if any art is emerging that's really being influenced by the toad medicine. The way ayahuasca has, for example, generated whole genres of art, and other substances as well have done that. LSD, obviously, Alex Gray, and so on. So I'm wondering if there's any way you can describe the experience as it relates to the nowness and the appearance of that, maybe visually or more immersively, and if that's influencing any of the art work that you're seeing from people that you've
Definitely. We've seen a lot of art, like Annie just showed us some art from Luis Ogarrio and many other people that have been influenced by this molecule and now are manifesting the knowledge, the experience in their various art manifestations. No, I do believe all psychedelics give you entheogenic homework, and so if you don't do your homework, you're not going to evolve. No, but yeah, I mean.
What does the art look like? I guess is it what was in her slides?
There was one painting that it was a very large toad and is very symmetrical. That painting was actually done with both hands at the same time while under the effect of the toad in several sessions, obviously. But, I mean, you can see the symmetry. And I feel that the other thing that happens with psychedelics, especially 5-MeO-DMT, ibogaine we know for sure, is that the brain hemispheres synchronize. And Martin Ball has written extensively too on how the signature form of the 5-MeO-DMT experience is symmetry. That when the ego is disengaged, people are able to move in free-flowing energies. They don't even know what a mudra is, and all of a sudden they're doing mudras, and they break out into full-blown fractal energetic yoga, and they've never done yoga in their life, maybe. And so there's this concept of symmetry, this concept of, to me, that mirrors synchrony between the brain hemispheres, again, between the male and the female, leading to the fusion of the two and something that we've never seen before.
Any music coming out of it?
Yes, lots of electronic music. Also,
New
and
age
from
music.
Sonora, from where this toad is from.
Yes.
Dr. Juan Acosta, wow, we are at this time exploring these mudras and these symmetries, these movements in the body that happen with 5-MeO-DMT. So we have a little pilot group that's moving in that direction and trying to catalog all that. I want to bring up an important point. Last year, I presented my EEG data on NN and 5-MeO-DMT effects at the SAND conference, Science and Non-Duality. So I did a little homework, and I spent a while doing literature search on the presence of 5-MeO-DMT in the human pineal gland. And I came up with no references, no papers whatsoever. So I was a bit shocked because Rick Strassman has propounded that hypothesis, and it seems to have taken hold, and everybody thinks it's a fact. So I actually called up Dr. Rick Strassman, and I had a very enlightening conversation with him. And he said, we just published a paper where we found in the rat brain. And so he gave me the reference, and I have that paper. It's a paper by Barker. But it has not actually been proven and found in the human brain.
All mammals, actually. No.
So,
Apparently.
You meet people who say, yes, I can produce endogenous DMT in my pineal, and, I can release it. And I take that with a grain of salt. Also, its actual function as a neurotransmitter is not quite established, because as a neuroscientist, there's all of these different criteria that have to be met exactly for a substance to qualify as a neurotransmitter. It has to have the precursor, the enzymes that make it, the release mechanism, the inactivation mechanism, the receptors, and all of that. So, but it is in many animal tissues, and in the human, it's now been found in the retina and in the spinal cord. A group from University of Wisconsin has published that. So I think it's a very difficult molecule to measure and to detect. And now they're using immunohistochemical tagging. And so it's a big improvement on where it's localized.
One of the research studies that I read while I was preparing the presentation did say how for a long time it was believed to be a partial agonist of serotonin because of its action on the 5-HT1A and the 5-HT2A, but that now because of the discovery of the sigma-1 and the TAR1, that they were able to see that actually it behaves like a neurotransmitter, that it doesn't only block the reuptake molecules or transporter molecules, but it can also be packaged into vesicles and released through exocytosis. So I'll have to send you that paper, but I did find a paper about that. But you're right. A lot of people took Dr. Strassman's concept for fact, and it really pisses him off that they're making claims on his name when he's a hardcore scientist. But
hi, Annie. My name is Joe. I have experience with the toad medicine, as you know. And two questions, kind of to follow up to that. Montauk Chia at Tao Garden does a darkroom meditation. And he has this listed on his website, but I don't know anything scientifically around this. And I was curious if you guys had anything to offer in that area around darkroom. And this also kind of piggybacks on the isolation tank, that around day 9, the brain in darkness for 9 whole days, the brain starts producing mass amounts, and that's where they connect a lot of the past religious experiences where yogis are retreating to mountains for extended periods of time and drawing these things that are seen in all over different major geographic ancient sites and stuff like that. So is there research around that scientifically? And then I have a second question.
There's a little bit. So the pineal gland, which is the source, the purported source of the DMT, is photosensitive, so it responds to light. So during the day when the sun is up, the pineal is inhibited, but it starts storing serotonin. And at night, as soon as the sun goes down, darkness stimulates the pineal, so it takes serotonin and it converts it to melatonin, which is the sleep hormone, and so you get drowsy and you go to sleep. And something that I read recently is that the reason why we only go through dream cycles of about 7 to 8 minutes is because what's happening as melatonin is being broken down into something called pinoline. And pinoline is a beta-carbolin. And beta-carbolin is the other component of ayahuasca. One is the DMT, and the other one is a beta-carbolin. So what it does, it inhibits the action of the enzyme that would normally degrade DMT or 5-MeO-DMT immediately. And so as pinoline is present from the melatonin metabolism, you can stock up on a little bit of DMT, and so when you're dreaming really is DMT. And again, some of it might be speculation, but there are at least 1 or 2 research studies that I did encounter, and it's all in the references, so I'll be happy to share those references with anyone here.
I plan on doing the meditation. I'm just going to get my wife to support me for 12 days in darkness.
So the darkness is going to be activating your pineal, and so you're going to be producing a lot of melatonin. The more melatonin, the more pinoline.
And then, so it would be lasting for. It would just be dumping DMT. It's not like just smoking it, like what we did, right? It would be like this.
I don't know. I haven't done it.
Okay. I'll let you know. And my second question is, because I have been in ceremony with you, and I think it would be valuable for the group here to just talk about the ceremony. And you mentioned that you do it ceremonial, and I would like to hear about your ceremony, because yours was extremely powerful for me with regard to permission and what you're going to manifest or what you want to create, your intention, and also the what you're going to give. And there's some magic with that, and I just think that would be cool to share.
Well, thank you, Joe. Yes, in the context of where I was working, I would work with people for a week before they would take the toad medicine, and they would do their ibogaine detox halfway down that week. And so they spent a lot of time with me just doing education, learning about how the brain is wired and what the nucleus accumbens does with the dopamine and what ibogaine can reset all of that stuff. And so they had, I feel that the more people understand about what they're going to be going through, the more they can relax into the experience and derive benefit from it. So there's education, there's biofeedback. Breathing is everything with the toad medicine. If 5-MeO-DMT is theorized to be something that the brain releases in massive amounts when when you die, then it's only logical to think that when you bring it in from the outside, you very might feel like, oh my God, I'm dying. But you're not. And so the key to be able to stay with the experience and enjoy it is to breathe, because we start life with a breath and we end life with a breath. And so if you're tricking your brain into thinking that you're dying and you're not breathing, then you really freak out. Then you really feel like, oh my God, I'm dying. And so they get to train with biofeedback equipment from the Institute of Heart Math. They have to learn to regulate their heart. They do that several times before they actually take the medicine. And for the taking of the medicine, I invite them to approach the experience with reverence and respect for the medicine and for the toad. So I invite them to go through a 4-step process of first asking permission, second giving thanks in advance, denoting that now they're opening to trust after they've seen a glimmer of hope, and then setting an intention is key to guiding the experience itself, to being able to somehow navigate and get a sense of what the heck is going on. And since you're receiving this gigantic gift, then it's important to give something back. And so I invite them to make a peace offering and to connect the peace offering to their intention. So the peace offering is something that they're willing to commit to doing that will ensure that that intention is carried out to fruition. And so the toad medicine is never the same. I could give it to 5 people here, and it's not going to be anything like the other person. Because again, the toad is intelligent, and it has a personality, and it gives you what you need, not what you want. And so I invite them to set the intention around the most pressing issue in their life. So whether it's forgiveness of others, self-forgiveness, self-love, acceptance, whatever it is, and then to make their peace offering something along those lines. So it's to be less judgmental about yourself, then the peace offering can be just to be gentle with yourself. But again, the diligence and the discipline and the keeping yourself accountable is important. Did I miss anything? I think that... Water. Huh? Oh, water. I work with essential oils, so I give them a little bit of orange right before, because orange peel is rich in DMT, so I have this little silly idea that I may potentiate their experience a little further by giving them orange oil, and then I help them ground back into their body with peppermint oil. Thanks, Ananda.
My name's Bobby. I too have experience with the DMT, and I love it. I would like to know if there's information published, perhaps you, Dr. Gerardo, have published something about proper harvesting techniques, especially with sensitivity to the status of the toad and that is possible endangerment.
No. I uploaded some videos of me milking the toads, but by many subjects I was asked to remove them, because they were like, well, you're encouraging them to go to the desert and you're a contributing factor, so all the information is in the internet, in YouTube, and you can find all the process of how to extract this medicine without harming the toad.
Thank you. Okay, I will check that out. There's one other question, if I may, and that is, you mentioned, I think both of you mentioned, that you felt that the 5-MeO DMT is safe for those who have histories of psychosis. And I've seen a lot of stuff in the literature to the contrary, so I'm curious. Schizophrenia in particular, I think you mentioned schizophrenia.
Yes.
What's your experience? Have you seen very many people who have been labeled as psychotic or schizophrenic take the toad medicine?
Yes. Initially, it may not be a positive experience or a pleasant experience for them, but even though they have a negative experience or a bad trip, so to speak, the exposure of the molecule to their brains, the level of healing that it produces, it helps in a way. I don't have much experience about psychiatric disorders, but I have my accounts that I will publish now in my second book, soon to be published.
For me, it's an exclusion criteria. If they have had a psychotic event, or they have they're diagnosed schizophrenic or have been taking antipsychotics, there's other ways to get PTSD treatment or addiction treatment. I don't risk it.
Thank you, doctors. Will you finish follow-up? I just have a quick question about the legal status of it here in the United States, and also, do you see it being available? How do you see people gaining access to it? And the other question is, of course, is this the only frog that we know of that produces this? I mean, there are other deserts in the world. Just a couple of quick questions. Thank you.
Well, 5-MeO-DMT is classified as Schedule 1 since December 2013, or 14, if I'm not correct. So, yeah, the synthetic freebase form is illegal in the States, such as DMT. There's a few people that you can find on the internet that are selling this medicine. I do not encourage people, because many people ask me, where can we buy it? Where can we get it? And I do not encourage this, so I will not release this information for obvious purposes. But it's sad. I've seen on the black market prices ranging up to $500 per gram. So, yes, it's sad. Many people now are, being influenced by the monetary status, and they're doing, what they're doing.
I'm so curious. You had mentioned that one of the common experiences that women who are sexually repressed have is sex with angels. What's the most common experience for men with sexual dysfunction?
Well, they don't come to me with that diagnosis, no? They don't. You know how men are, no? But yes.
Right, and well, one more question, and then we're going to end up on this one right here.
I think you're probably familiar, you know Martin Ball, and you're probably familiar with what I think is one of the extreme cases of a negative consequence, and that's a well-known Augustus Masters, who's a author, and for months after a 5-MeO, he had ongoing difficulties, and I'm not sure what the final understanding was. I know he reached out to Stanislaus Grof, but whether there was an enzyme, a biological thing in his case, but you've mentioned just about so many positive things, but that seems, The second part is, what do you think? I'm also amazed that Martin Ball he's now conveying that he's completely in this state all the time. He's integrated it daily in his last book. Do you have any comment on that? So it seems like it's kind of akin to a kind of an enlightenment, a final, which is very difficult to find in any literature of anything like that happening. It seems unique. Thank you.
For the sake of time, the negative potentials were not addressed, but they're very much there. If we have that 5-MeO-DMT is a serotonin agonist, and we know that with continued exposure, the brain leads to downregulation, then what you have is decreased levels of serotonin. And what are low levels of serotonin classically associated with? Aggression, violent behavior. And we're seeing that with some people. And so, if we had a little bit more time, I would have loved to be able to devote the section to the considerations and the carefulness that this work needs to be addressed with. As to whether Martin Ball is in that state full-time or not, I don't know.
No.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Well, thank you very much, Annie. Thank you very much, Dr. Gerardo. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here.
Thank you.